Hello, in this tutorial we are going to learn a different way to create the chalkboard example that we did a little bit ago using a new class. But in this class I'm just going to call this one Playground. And the reason I'm going to call it Playground is that we're going to create an interactive environment and basically gut all of this and take most of the code out. But we're going to create a program to experiment with code, but it might be a little bit easier scenario than the last one. So what I'm going to do here is, instead of using a constructor and using our object-oriented programming, so that's one thing you need to be aware of, is that I am not going to be using object-oriented programming here, and it's really solely just to play around a little bit with data or with lines of code. Java is intended to be a object-oriented programming language, and I would recommend that you watch the videos for accompanying the BlueJ textbook because they do a very nice job explaining things. But let me get this line of code typed in here, and then we'll go back and we will talk about it. We are going to create a program that has what's called a main driver. And so our class is called Playground, but I'm going to create this main driver. And this main driver here is, Java will look for the program that has main, and it will run everything within main. So kind of like we had our message in our last program, if I want to output a message, I could just do system.out.println, and here is my message. I don't have to create any sample variables. I can just go ahead and output that. If I want to do a little bit of my math that I had, like we had int x was assigned 0, and then we had a y value that was assigned a different number. The y value was actually a value sent in by somebody, but let's just say y is 5. And then I want to take the sum is x plus y, and I want to output that result. I could just do system.out.println. Actually, I want to do println on both. I'll show you why here, why in just a moment. And I could print out the sum is plus for concatenation sum. And so I don't have to write all of the methods like I did in the last program. The last program is actually set up better in terms of Java. But if I want to just play around just a little bit here, I can delete out all of this and I can compile. I did not use an assignment statement to assign my value for sum. Reached end of file while parsing. This will happen to you frequently when you're doing greenfoot n in BlueJ. And if you look at the color, you can see that the yellow is defining this new method, my main method, but the green isn't closed off. So basically I just need another curly brace. So that error message that I got basically is telling you you didn't close off the rest of the program. So if I close off my curly brace, we should compile, close up my white space a little bit to get this to run. And what's going to happen now, if I go back to my environment here, I can create a new playground like I did before, and I could right click, but then I can't, there aren't any methods, so it can't actually run anything. There aren't any methods because everything was done inside a main. Everything's inside a main. So what I have to do is say, well, call main. Right here I'm going to call main. So if I call main from there and just hit OK, and then here is my message, the sum is 5. Let me clear the console window from our previous runs, run main, and here's my message, the sum is 5. See how they're running together right there? Remember I told you we should use a println. Println means print line, and what that's going to do is put in a carriage return. So we compile, come back, run main, hit OK, and the sum is 5. Here's my message, the sum is 5. Now it's on 2 separate lines. So when you do a print ln, you are sending the message to the next line down. And this is just a sample program now to show you you can experiment with code, you can declare different variables, and etc. Could you still use methods? Absolutely, you can. If I go back in here and I do public, and I'll do void, not to return a value right now, but I'll say do some math like we did before. This time we might try something different. On this one, I'm just going to, we'll do multiplication. So I will have two variables, int num1 is assigned 3, and I could do num2 is assigned 4, and I will have a product, which is num1 times num2, and that's assigned to product, and then system.out.println, and I will print product. Remember that I will have to start this output line with a string. I can't just output product, otherwise I have that data collision error. If I right click and I create a new playground, and then down here, now I have a method I can call, do some math, product is 12. And so there's a variety of different ways that you can just use this environment, the BlueJ environment, to play around a little bit, and we will give you some assignments from this environment and have you do some calculations and some things. But that shows you a way that you can get into more of what we would call traditional programming and not necessarily the interactive GUI programming that we have in Greenfoot. So these first 3 videos have been a short introduction to the Greenfoot environment, how to create a project, how to create a class, and how to work within this environment.